the end. Doom Patrol, episode 9, season finale, Wax Patrol. And this was one of the oddest season finales that I've ever seen, which also says to me there are some behind the scenes circumstances and why the episode unfolded the way it did, and why we ended up only getting 9 episodes anyway. But I'll get to that towards the end. So the episode starts with Jane. But before we get into Jane, I want to jump into. We'll get into the Jane stuff in a second. But I want to jump into, like I said last week, because every single character last week got their own individual story set up, with Rita with freezing up when she was trying to be a hero, Cyborg heartbroken over Ronnie, Cliff and his daughter, and the whole Jane situation with the underground. Like I said, we were going to put all that on hold because we got to go deal with what Dorothy and the Chief is doing. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody basically spent 2 seconds on their personal storyline. Vic was upstairs in his room, in the bed because, he was sad over the Ronnie situation. Rita came in to try to talk to him. And then she was just like, oh, she was just like, I understand. She was like, I failed as well. I had a chance to stop her and I froze. I'm nothing, and that was basically that. And the two of them never spoke about that again. Cliff was getting ready to go to his daughter's wedding because she was getting married soon. Larry ain't got nothing to do. Honestly, Larry's presence in this whole episode wasn't even felt. And then Jane, she woke up in the well. Because again, the underground exists in Jane's mind, so she wasn't gonna drown. She woke up and she's trying to swim her way out of the well. And while she was in the well, she saw some blue light, and she started diving towards the blue light. So Miranda now, she's taken over. She was helping Cliff pick out an outfit for his daughter's wedding. Miranda's now a part of the team. And when all of them were in the mansion together, which was the first time all of them were together in the same place at the same time since probably the season opener, Dorothy's imaginary spider shows up, and then he's just like, oh, you guys need to help Dorothy. She's in trouble. The candle maker, is taking over, and he's going to kill everybody. And as soon as that happened, everybody all of a sudden just put their own differences to the side, and they were just like, all right, let's go help Dorothy. Let's go help the Chief. And then Cliff was like, nah. And Cliff was like, first of all, the situation that's happening with him and his daughter, he fucked that up. He got to fix that on his own. He's like, if y'all want to go help him, that's perfectly fine. I ain't got a problem with that. But I actually have a chance to actually repair my situation with my daughter. And I'm not going to leave that on the table just to go help Chief's ass when the Chief tried to kill me and shoot me off into outer space. And no one has addressed that yet because Chief and Cliff have not been in the same place at the same time since that happened. So then, then everybody hit him with the guilt trip. They were just like, oh, we're trying to help. He's like, we're trying to help a girl, we're trying to help an 11-year-old girl. He's like, yo, I'm trying to help my daughter. And I side with Cliff. I understand what everyone's talking about. I understand that they have a point. But on some real ish, did you really need Cliff's help? Cliff could have did what he had to do. The rest of them probably could have took. Larry has the freaking negative spirit, for Christ's sake, so. But they guilted him into going. He, even Miranda, she was like, yes, I'm perfectly down for going. And then Cliff called his daughter and told his daughter that he probably wasn't going to make it. And I felt bad for Cliff because he's about to get a win. But I did say last week that the Dorothy situation was going to ruin his daughter's wedding. So they go down to the carnival or whatever to try to stop the whole situation. They see Bootleg Constantine. He's just like the candle maker, which is what we're calling it. The candlemaker ended up creating a world of people's imaginary friends. And then, once you step into his vicinity, he can bring out your imaginary friend. So they decide to split up for whatever reason. And as soon as they split up and they go, as soon as the team splits up and they go their separate ways to look for Dorothy and to look for Niles, Miranda immediately passes out and hits the floor. When she hit the floor, she woke up in the underground train station, and then all the other girls basically pulled the emergency brake to bring Miranda in because they was just like, yo, this is exactly why we voted Jane out, because of shit like this. She was like, you're diving in head first, to fight a demon that killed 2 of our people already. They were like, Jane wouldn't even have done that. And then, then Miranda was just like, well, none of you know what the girl wants, and I know what the girl wants, and I'm trying to repair things, and blah blah blah. And then she's like, does any of you know? And then the other girls started getting a little hip. They were just like, well, also, what happened to Jane? Jane said that ever since you showed up, people started disappearing, and now Jane's gone too, and then, that's a little suspicious. And then she's just like, look, if you broken sheep bitches want to sit here and crying over some BS, you do what you have to do, but I'm going to make amends and repair this whole situation because I know what the girl wants. And then Miranda ended up going back upstairs. She ended up trying to make her way back upstairs because she couldn't take the train anymore. So, and then, but then Kay, like the actual child, Kay, she saw Miranda, and then that made Kay think, and then Kay went to go find Jane. So now Vic, he ends up seeing, so Jane never got an imaginary friend situation because she passed out. Larry said that he never had an imaginary friend as a child, so he was just walking around, and then he basically slipped on some wax and hit the floor. He turned to wax, and Larry was done for the rest of the episode. And I was just like, why was Larry even here? So Vic ends up bumping into his imaginary friend, which was a cowboy that looked like his dad. And the two of them got into a little drawing contest, and then they had a conversation. He ended up telling Vic, he was like, listen, I'm your imaginary friend that you created in your mind. My whole job is basically just to pat you on the back, and every single time you do something stupid, I'm supposed to tell you it's going to be all right anyway. So he was just like, yeah, your heart's broken, because of what happened with Ronnie. But, yeah, Ronnie, she stole some Uma jelly. She's powerful now. She murdered a bunch of people. You let her go. You didn't bring her to justice. But you let your feelings get in the way of doing the right thing. You let a killer on the loose, but hey, it's all right, buddy. And then, and then like he kind of like he like internally freaked out. But then he was just like, that's why you'll always be a kid and you'll never grow up because you can't make adult decisions. And then the candle maker showed up, because the candle maker was secretly the imaginary cowboy, and then he turned Vic into stone. Rita saw her childhood puppet that she made. Like Rita made like a cutout puppet where she used pieces of different things to build a doll. She used to dance with the doll. She used to practice her lines with the doll. She used to do everything with the doll. But then when she finally got her first part, she threw the doll away. She put the doll away, and then she told it, and then the doll even said, she was just like, like I miss when we used to dance together and we used to be together. But she was just like, Rita was like, yeah, but after what happened with my mom, and I saw what my mom had to do to get me the part, I basically, I couldn't look at her anymore, and I couldn't look at you anymore, because she was like, I made your eyes with a picture that I found of my mom, and I cut my mom's eyes out and put them on you. So those eyes just reminded me too much of my mom. And then the doll was like, yeah, but you ended up being like your mother anyway, doing things that you have to do to get roles, and you became the person that you hated. And then, Rita started freaking out, and then the candle maker showed up and then turned Rita to wax. Cliff, for some reason, saw Jesus. He said that when he was a kid, his parents would send him to Bible camp while they were working through like their divorce situation, all their domestic situations. And, Cliff was very into Jesus. Like he was 100% into God. But Jesus came back and was just like, bro, like, you ditched me and you left me. And then he was like, of course I left you, because my dad came back. He told me everything was going to be okay. And I was 6 years old. So of course I wanted to believe in my dad because I needed him, which is why I ended up choosing my dad, quote unquote, over Jesus. So the two of them, got into it a little bit. They ended up hugging it out. And then Jesus's eyes started glowing, and he was like, I'm not Jesus, mother. Right? And then like he turned like Cliff into wax and broke him into pieces. So now the whole group has been turned to wax. They showed up to the carnival for nothing. And the threat is still very much alive. And now we're waiting for the wax maker, the candle maker, to basically like melt down and destroy the entire world. The Jane situation, we got a little bit of Miranda's backstory because Miranda had taken over from Kay, and she left her house in Ohio. She left her dad behind, and she moved to like Wisconsin or something. She met a guy. She was working at a diner. Miranda was working at a diner. She met a guy. The two of them ended up talking. They became boyfriend and girlfriend. They ended up moving in together. They ended up falling in love. And Miranda basically fell for the love trap because her responsibility was to protect the girl and to be the one to protect everyone in the underground and to help the girl rebuild. But because she fell in love with this dude, she put all her eggs in that basket. The guy basically, he was a part of a sex cult, and the group that he was in, they get very heavily involved in like orgy parties, and like sex parties. So he was trying to convince Miranda to be a part of that world. And Miranda, see, because of the sexual abuse, the verbal abuse, the mental abuse that she went through with her father, Miranda was supposed to protect Kay from all that. So getting into a sexual orgy group probably wasn't the best thing for someone who's dealing with, who's dealing with like molestation trauma. But because Miranda was in love with this guy, she allowed him to talk her into the situation. So she gets into a situation where she's having sex with her boyfriend's best friend, like his best friend's wife, was making out with her. And then when the best friend was actually having sex with Miranda, Miranda started having flashbacks of her father, which triggered Kay, which made the girl upset. We don't want to upset the girl. And then Miranda basically ended up freaking out and she passed out on the floor. She went back to the underground, and then all the girls that were there were looking at her, like in disdain and disgust, because they were just like, you're the primary, you were supposed to protect us, and you basically sold us out, for some sex. And then even the librarian, nerd older woman, she even said like she told us, she was like, you were supposed to protect us and you fucked it up. And then the other girls were laughing at her, and I think the girls that were, because everybody, some of the other girls they were disappointed. Everybody was disappointed in Miranda. She saw the disappointment on everyone's face, but some of the other girls were like laughing at her because she messed up. So Miranda at this point, she felt disgrace and then she felt shame. My whole thing is regarding the whole sex party situation, because if that's what you get into, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But why would you... Here's where Miranda dropped the ball. Miranda didn't drop the ball for trying to be a part of the orgy party. Miranda dropped the ball because she was the personality who decided to go through the orgy party. Is that not why we have Scarlet Harlot? And when Miranda was walking through the underground and doing the walk of shame, the camera panned to Scarlet Harlot because she was sitting on the train smoking a cigarette. And that's when I was just like, why didn't you just let Scarlet take over? Because Scarlet would have loved this shit. Like, Scarlet would have been all over this. I'm like, you should have just let Scarlet Harlot do the orgy party, and then that would have spared like Miranda's feelings, and then Kay never would have, like, if anything, Scarlet's there to protect them from, from sexual trauma. But Miranda messed up, and then she went to Kay to try to apologize, and then Kay slammed the door in her face because Kay was destroyed. And then because Miranda was feeling the shame of letting everybody down, she couldn't take being a failure. And then that's what forced her to throw herself down the well and quote unquote kill herself. So that was Miranda's story. And then as soon as Miranda threw herself down the well, I guess Kay appointed Jane as the new primary, because Jane wasn't even there when Miranda was going through that whole situation. And Jane is basically Kay grown up. Jane is the grown up version of Kay, who is negatively reacting to all the trauma that she went through as a child. So when so with Miranda gone, Jane took over as primary. Jane woke up at the orgy party. She basically cursed everybody out, told everybody they ain't shit, and then she walked out, punched her boyfriend in the face, and then she dipped. And then she's like, "Yo, it's Crazy Jane, bitch. I'm primary, and we taking over." So that's how Jane, that's how Jane came to be. So then it takes us back to Jane still in the well, swimming underground, and when she finally got to the blue light. Because there was like this necklace that Miranda always wore around her neck that I think she got from that from the boyfriend when the two of them were dating. So Jane saw the blue light coming from she saw it was the necklace that Miranda had. She tried to pull the necklace out of the sand, and when she pulled the necklace out of the sand, Miranda's dead corpse came out, and then that's when Jane realized, like, this is actually Miranda, and Miranda's dead. So if Miranda is dead, who the hell is this girl upstairs? Who's this girl upstairs that just took over as primary? And then even Kay, she went to Jane's station, and then when she saw that Jane's station was closed, even Kay realized, she was just like, she knew Miranda wasn't really Miranda, because Kay said, she was like, "You're not Miranda." And then she was like, "No, I'm not Miranda." And then Kay was like, "Who are you?" And then Miranda put her hand on Kay's shoulder, and then the scene cut off. I feel like Miranda is Jane's father, the spirit of Jane's father, because we saw in last season when Jane had a moment where she confronted the well, the spirit of her molesting dad came out of the well as like this big monster, and they had to take the monster down. I feel like the monster, the monster who represents her dad, transformed himself into Miranda, and the dad, the spirit of the dad, is secretly pretending to be Miranda, and he's killing all the other girls in the underground because he's trying to take over. Because Miranda always talked about repairing, repairing, repairing. Maybe this is secretly her dad trying to repair his relationship with his daughter while killing all these underground broads in the process because they're the ones that are there to protect her. But we didn't get a resolution for any of this because, again, Jane just saw Miranda's corpse, and then Miranda told Kay that she wasn't really Miranda, and then that's how it ended. So again, so out of all the characters who had individual situations, Jane's situation got the most attention, but like I said, none of this stuff is going to get resolved until season 3. And then finally, Niles was crawling on the floor. He pulled something out of his pocket. I don't know if it was insulin or like a lethal injection needle or whatever, but he took it out of his pocket, and then he put it back in his pocket to foreshadow that he may have to use this. You know, he saw Dorothy. He told Dorothy to come to him. When Dorothy was walking towards him, she saw like all the, you know, like everybody was turned to wax and everything, and then Dorothy started freaking out. Her mom appeared out of nowhere, because apparently the black woman from last episode was her mama. Her mom appeared out of nowhere, and then the mom told Niles, she was like, look, stop babying her. She's not a child. She got to do what she got to do. And then she asked Dorothy, she was like, are you a woman or are you a child? She's like, are you going to step up to the challenge or are you not going to step up to the challenge? Her mom was basically telling her, it's your responsibility. You're the one that has to kill the wax maker, the candle maker, and you're the one that has to save everybody. Remember, he's a part of your imagination. It's your imagination. You control it. So if anybody can take down the candle maker, it can be you. She gave Dorothy some boots. Dorothy used her imagination to conjure a weapon, and then the candle maker showed up, grabbed Dorothy, snatched Dorothy into the abyss, and Niles was just left like, no, my daughter. That's how the episode ended. And it was the oddest ending of a season I've ever seen. Usually when seasons like go out, you either get 8 episodes, you get 13, you get 16, or you get 22, 23. Or you get 10. No one ever gets 9. And I feel like because of what happened with The Flash, because The Flash ended at 19, 19 episodes, like other shows ended early. I feel like because of the pandemic, Doom Patrol had to cut their season a little short. Maybe Doom Patrol was supposed to get 10 episodes. Maybe they were supposed to get 15. Who knows? But they definitely wasn't supposed to get 9. And because the season finale, aside from Jane, was just so empty from a character standpoint, how like we just didn't touch on anyone's individual stories, how Larry was basically a non-factor, Rita and Cyborg just showed up just to talk to their imaginary friends. Cliff had a little bit more than everyone else, but ultimately the Doom Patrol didn't do jack in this entire episode. There was nothing for them to do. They didn't do anything. They didn't attack anybody. It's not even like they went after the Candlemaker and the Candlemaker turned them to wax. I feel like this episode was supposed to be the episode before the season finale. But because of the pandemic, and they had to shut down production, this episode ended up being the season finale, and we didn't get the actual season finale that we were supposed to get. But I understand. Like I said, I'm not holding that against them. It just, like I said, it just makes more sense as to why everything is completely not resolved, and why the episode was just so. Because when I watched the episode, I was like, damn, that's it. It was over. Like it felt like it was over very quickly. But I said, but that was it. I said, can't hold it against them. And but because it did end the way it ended, I damn sure want to see what happens next season now. So we'll wait for that, and we'll review it when it happens. So that was it. That was season 2 of Doom Patrol in the books, Wax Patrol. And let me know in the comments who your MVP was for the season. My MVP for the season is Rita. From when she started the season trying to become a hero, to the whole Sex Patrol episode. For some reason, the Doom Patrol Sex Patrol episode is my highest rated review for Doom Patrol this whole season. And then her going into the thing with the bees, my bees, and then transitioning into the beekeeper. And like Rita's the MVP. Like I love me some Rita Farr. I'm also interested to see where Vic and Ronnie go as well, because I was interested in that as well. But let me know. I guess like the Jane stuff was amazing. Like the Jane stuff was so good. I feel like she should just get her own show. like Jane doesn't even need to be a part of the Doom Patrol. Like Jane and Cyborg could literally have their own show and they'll be fine. Larry did more than he did previously, but they got to step it up a little bit with Larry, because I'm just like, the whole first season was about him being gay and being in the closet. This season was about him repairing his family. Like, I don't know, like Larry needs some more oomph, And Cliff's just a train wreck. But yeah, but like I said, I can't. There's really no bad characters. Like everybody was good. Like everybody was definitely good. Like I said, but Rita, this season, Rita's number one. So like I said, so let me know in the comments who your MVP is for the season. Let me know what you think is going to happen next season, how we resolve this whole issue. Does Dorothy come back a full-grown woman? What happens with each individual character's like individual story mode? And does the Brotherhood of Evil ever show up? And do we actually get to the real Doom Patrol? Thank you for tuning in. Doom Patrol is in the books. We have the season finale of Stargirl coming up. We also have the series finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's Arrow and S.H.I.E.L.D. gone. And then once all these shows are finished, we'll see what else we can review, and we'll see what else we can review, because I think the next show that's up is going to be Titans. As always, leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, talk to me in the comments, give me a shout out. Thanks for watching, everyone that put a comment in, for Doom Patrol this season, everyone that contributed to watching Doom Patrol this season. I love you all. It is greatly appreciated. So, for the Doom Patrol, season 2 in the books, until season 3, take care, guys. And as always, I'm out this bitch!